There we go. Sorry. So, yeah. So I've managed to now have a look at the stream. Well, not stream, but the reveal that's done on Warhammer TV, where they have a free battle report. You can obviously go and watch and see all the interactions and kind of see another game played where it's actually got the players talking per se, so you can actually kind of listen what they say and kind of hear what's going on. I'm just going to go through kind of all of the information that's been kind of shared and shown during that, because they do actually have kind of overlays, so you can at least see kind of what they are actually talking about throughout. Yeah. Sorry, computer being a pain. Right. So we have this one. Cool. So first of all, they showcase one of the kind of maps. This is a search and destroy one for the mission that they are playing. Again, for every mission combination, there are 3 layouts, A, B, C. Kind of in a casual game, I guess you can roll D3 to decide which one you want to play on, or in an event. In the event pack, the tournament organizer most likely will have put A, B or C for the round, so you know which one, when you've paired into your opponent, that you are going to play. But as we can see here again, it is the same kind of ruins. This one, interestingly, is one of the 6 objective kind of setups. As you can see here, you've got your home, you've then got the 2 expansions, and then the central ones here. Each of the pieces are still placed onto each of the area footprints as they are. There isn't really much shift on those, it's consistent, which again makes setting up the tables quicker in between rounds at events, because you haven't got to worry about, unlike in 10th edition, sometimes terrain pieces didn't even exist in between different layouts, so that's a change. Whether people like it or not remains to be seen, but it does at least mean that playing the game, setting up in between events, is going to be quicker than it potentially could have been. We then have the mission that they play, which again, they give us the kind of cars that they are using. There we go. So they have got a Purge the Foe versus not Reconnaissance, I can't remember which one it is, but here are the ones. So it's quite straightforward in Vital Link and Destroyer's Wrath, which is my favourite name for a mission so far. So in Vital Link, in any battle round at the end of your turn, you control 1 or more central objectives, because there are 2, so you can only still score 2 points even if you control both. And then for each operation marker within range of one of those objectives, see reverse, you get 1. Basically it is an action where you place an operation marker. Yeah, it's a fairly straightforward one. I didn't get the card, unfortunately. I must have either missed it or they didn't display it. But it is just an action to create. Then from the second battle round onwards, command phase, or again end of your turn in the 5th battle round, which is really nice to see that's consistent for kind of both players, no matter first or second. You control 1 or more objectives, excluding home. That kind of again is that consistent. Nope. Then 1 or more of those objectives is a central objective. You get an additional 4. So you can score 8 primary per turn there. You then get 2 points for that. So controlling a central objective gives you 6 points, which is pretty solid. And then if you're having an operation marker on an objective as well, is 7 points for standing on a centre. Obviously that's going to be slightly trickier. If we go back to the map, you are going to be pretty exposed to the enemy, so surviving might be the challenge. Again, there is the kind of ruin wall here that you can stand behind, that you might be able to kind of hold off, which is what the Blood Angels are doing here. But obviously there is a rather large force of orcs about to descend in that point. And at the end of the battle, you control your opponent's home, which gives you 10 points. Again, It's a huge amount of points. Really favours if you go second. I don't know if it's the kind of new way they're doing the pseudo catch-up mechanic, because there are a few missions where that exists overall. We then have Destroyer's Wrath, where for killing an enemy unit or more you get 3 points. If you control one or more objectives you get 4. If you control more objectives you get 6. Which is nice. So kind of big amount of points can be scored there of 13, although this isn't cumulative, so I'm assuming it's 4 or 6. And then finally it's basically the old Purge the Foe mechanic. More enemy units were destroyed this turn than friendly units, so you get another 4. So again, killing multiple units is kind of incentivized, but you do need to technically pace yourself to not burn out of things to kill. But yeah, so it's good to see another mission, see a layout, kind of start to get an idea of how these are going to look, as well as the fact that we've now seen how they look if you are running the 6 objective ones, which again, it's on the triangles that are actually trapeziums. So we then have a whole host of stratagems that have kind of been shared, which are different to the ones that were in the live games from Monday. They had the other ones, but I've only kind of done ones that are new. I did talk about the other ones in the video that I did Tuesday. So Bring It Down has changed quite significantly. It now only matters for any models that are 10 wounds or more, and they have to be on the battlefield. So you have something like the Triumph of St. Catherine is like 16 wounds. It's not a monster or vehicle, but it does count for the new Bring It Down. You then have you score kind of X amount of points based on kind of killing one of those models. Gazgul obviously has 10, so he was counted as one of those, or any vehicle like a Lancer or things like that. So hopefully kind of reduce the amount of background noise. But yeah, so it's less penalising for kind of things like Drakari, where they've got Venoms that are 6 points, that now are not giving up 4 points. It is 5 points for tactical, and then 4 for fixed, so there is a 1 point increase because you are going to have to put a bit more effort into killing a model, but it is a free discard. Interestingly, you can discard this card, but let's say you've got 2 secondaries in your hand already and you'll think, actually I'm going to keep this one because I can't score it, and then drop it for a CP from the looks of things, so it kind of can auto get a CP. It might also be the case that you want to hold on to it to bait out the fact that your opponent has got the heavier vehicles in reserve, and you kind of want to offset them, bring them in for an ingress. We then have Beacon, which I didn't have the card for, but kind of went through the rules. But this one is you select one friendly unit on the battlefield or embarked within a transport, which is a pretty big change for a lot of things, not interacting with transports in 10th. So at the end of your opponent's turn, you get 3 points if the unit is then on the battlefield, i.e. not in the transport, and is not in your deployment zone. They don't have to be wholly within a certain other area, but just not within your deployment. And then if you get 5 if they are wholly on the other half of the board, i.e. not your territory. So that's that one. And then we got 2 others which are not really much of a change from what they currently are, but it's always useful to see. So behind enemy lines you can still recycle if you draw it turn 1, and there's 3 points. There's up to a total of 5, so if you have 2 units in your opponent's deployment zone and they have to be wholly within, you get 5 points, which is an increase on the 4 points for the current chapter approved in 10th edition. So it's a little bit more worth it having that second unit. There was kind of often, unless you had a lot of cheap throwaway stuff and really needed that extra point, there wasn't much incentive. There's a little bit more now because it's now 2 points, and you kind of get a little bit more reward, I guess. Cleanse, this is the one that has been mentioned where if you have plunder you get to draw a new secondary card, which is nice. So cleanse, your shooting phase as an action, same as kind of now. You don't do it on your home. You can do it on any objective now, so it doesn't have to be no man's land, so you can actually do it on your opponent's home if you really kind of want to show off. Its use case is unlimited, so each unit that starts this action must be within range of a different objective though, and at the end of your turn, if you control that objective, you score the points per objective. One objective was cleansed by your army this turn for 2 points. 2 or more objectives were cleansed by your army, you get 5. So you could try and cleanse all 6 if you wanted. Wouldn't do anything, but you are allowed. We then have some kind of stratagems, which are again core stratagems that are not new. They are unchanged. The only difference I think with Epic Challenge is it doesn't say attached character anymore. Otherwise it functions the same, because the big difference with kind of characters, you have leaders who can be attached to units. Support characters have to be, but if you've got a character unit such as Gaz and Makari, you might be able to precision still, even though they're not attached to anything. It will depend obviously on what the precision ability wording is. Didn't get given that, wasn't discussed, so we'll see. And then Insane Bravery is the same. Once per game you get to pass Battle Shock. They can't already be Battle Shocked because you can't use strats while Battle Shocked, so it's not a way to escape testing a unit that's already Battle Shocked. But it's still there, can kind of keep units scoring. We then have the hazardous change, which was discussed, but now have kind of the full rule in front. You have when a unit is selected to shoot or fight, after it's resolved all its attacks, you make a number of hazardous rolls for that unit equal to the number of hazardous weapons you selected in the select weapon step. So you only actually roll for the ones that actually shot. So if you don't shoot the plasma pistols, you don't roll for them. So to make a hazardous roll, you roll a dice for every hazardous weapon you used, and then on a 1 or a 2, that roll fails, and that unit takes 1 mortal wound, or 3 if it's a monster or vehicle. So yeah, which is interesting because it says if each model in that unit is a monster vehicle. So there's obviously going to be some combinations where it won't happen. Like say you have a monster or vehicle with hazardous, but it's with a unit that isn't all monster vehicle. Can't think of one where that is the case. You obviously have the Tyranids where they staple on the weird flying bug thing to the Zoanthropes. Can't remember its name. But that's not got hazardous. But yeah, if you have more than one hazard roll required for a unit, make all those rolls simultaneously. So far haven't seen a use of the CP reroll strat anywhere, other than any wording of it, but they did use it in the game to reroll a charge that Gaz fails. So CP reroll does still exist. You won't be able to use it in conjunction with other things because you can only target a unit with 1 stratagem per phase, so you can't heroic and CP reroll it if you fail. In theory. Who knows until we there might be exceptions. We then have kind of the actual rules that they shared. So the first one, rapid ingress, works the same. 1 CP, you set up now 8 inches is the biggest difference, of course. So you have to target a unit from strat reserves, excluding units that are in a transport. So you can't target a captain in an impulsor to make it free. And then you set the unit up. So they have to be wholly within the setup distance of 1 or more battle edges and more than 8 inches horizontally from all enemy units. Before the 3rd battle round. While doing so, no models can be set up within your opponent's deployment zone, so same as before. And then after moving, unless otherwise stated until the start of the next charge phase, your unit is not eligible to make any other type of move. So you can't do a move shoot move with a unit that's coming from reserve, which is quite interesting. So I assume the unless otherwise stated kind of is the get around clause. So if it's a data sheet ability, they'll still be fine. And then the setup distance of 6, didn't kind of cover that, is still the kind of same range that we have now. It was used on a unit that didn't have Terminators, so they kind of deep struck in, so that still works in the same way from the looks of things. And yeah, deep strike's still a thing. We then have close quarters shooting. Again, it's basically the rewording of pistols. If all of the following apply, the units engaged did not make an advance move this turn. It's weird wording, but has one or more close quarters weapons or is a monster vehicle unit. So if you have a monster vehicle, you can shoot all your guns, including the pistols, or otherwise you can choose your kind of close quarters weapons. So each time while shooting, models in your unit can target enemy units your unit is engaged with. Monster vehicle models, each time a monster vehicle model in your unit makes an attack, unless it's made with a close quarters weapon and targets a unit your unit is engaged with, subtract 1 from the hit roll. So basically they've kind of rolled big guns never tire into this from the looks of things. If that attack is made with a blast weapon, it still cannot target a unit that it is engaged with. Non-monster, non-vehicles, you can only select the close quarters weapons to make those attacks, and you can only select ones that you're engaged with. So works pretty much the same functionally as it does now, and they're still not eligible to action. We then have pile and consolidate. Obviously these are quite wordy and quite lengthy. Again, all piling and consolidate moves are done at the same time. So whoever's the charger, the active player, does all of their piling moves, and then the opponent does all of their piling moves before the fights begin. So the maximum move, still 3 inches. You're eligible to pile in if it's the fight phase and at least one of these apply. It's engaged in combat, it's made a charge move, or it's selected to make an overrun fight, which is the one where if they've charged and the unit they were in combat with is dead, you get to kind of make another pile in to get into another combat if they're able to. So you then move as described. Before moving, select piling targets. If your unit is engaged, select every enemy unit it's engaged with. Otherwise, select one or more enemy units within 5 of your unit. This is obviously an increase over the 4 inches because now engagement range is 2. So while moving, models in base contact with the enemies can't move, same as now. And each model that is moved must end its move closer to the closest piling target and engaged with it if possible. So not the closest model, but the closest piling target. So that's a slight change. After moving, your unit must be engaged. Your model that started this move engaged with an enemy unit must still be engaged with that enemy unit, so you can't switch what you're engaged with, but you might still be able to fight a different unit by being within 2 of 2 different units. Again, we then have consolidate, which is obviously the end of the fight phase, so it's still 3 inches as a movement. You're eligible if it's the fight phase and your unit was eligible to fight this phase. That doesn't mean they have to have fought, they just have to have been eligible. So if they charged in, their mates killed the unit and they're kind of like, and they can't do an overrun, they still get to consolidate. So before moving, you have to select consolidation mode. So ongoing consolidation, if your unit is still engaged, you must select this one and every enemy unit is engaged with. Engage in consolidation. Otherwise, if your unit is within 3 of 1 or more enemy units, you must select this mode and select 1 or more of those enemy units. And then objective consolidation. Otherwise, if your unit is within 3 of 1 or more objectives, you must select this and select one of those objectives. Interestingly, you kind of must do it. It's not optional, which is kind of interesting. Like, you have to consolidate towards an objective if you can, which is different. So ongoing consolidation, while moving, so models in base contact with one or more enemy models can't be moved, same as piling. Then each model must move closer to the closest selected enemy unit and engage with it if possible. So you don't have to end in engagement range to do the movement, but you do have to consolidate towards something, which is interesting. Engaging consolidation, each model that is moved must end its move closer to the closest selected enemy unit and engage with it if possible. And then objective consolidation, each model that is moved must end its move within range of the selected objective if possible, or closer if not. So you don't have to go towards a particular objective, you just have to have the unit end on it. And then after moving, ongoing consolidation, each model that started this move engaged with an enemy unit must still be engaged. Engaging consolidation, your unit must be engaged with all of the selected enemy units. If one or more of those units hasn't fought, your opponent must select each of those units one at a time and then fight as described in the kind of fight selected to fight part. And then objective consolidation, you must be within range of the selected objective. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, I think, in terms of it's kind of not a can. So it's, you have to select the modes, but you each model that is moved, so it's not a forced movement, sorry, you just have to choose one of the modes and you can only do that thing, sorry. We then have disembark move, so you basically how you're getting out of transports. There are several types within this. I've had to split it in half because it's pretty long. The only thing we still don't have officially as a kind of written rule is the destroyed part. That was kind of discussed in the stream on Monday, where it is you have to kind of disembark as close to the model as possible, and then you might die to deadly demise on top of it. So set up distance, there's two different ones. There's rapid and tactical, which is 3, and then combat disembark, which is 6. So all of the following have to apply for you to be allowed to do it. So they have to have been within a transport that is on the battlefield. They didn't get into the transport this phase, and that transport hasn't made an advance or fallback this phase. You then set up the unit as described. If you're doing it before moving, you select disembark mode. I like the fact that they are clarifying a lot of things. This is a lot clearer in terms of when this happens, do this, which is nice, as opposed to some of the ambiguity of kind of ordering of things in other editions. So hopefully this leads to kind of smoother processes in the game, but I'm sure because it's written in English we will find, and people will find a way to quibble over commas and things like that. But it's always the case with anything written, people kind of misinterpret or don't understand the way something's written, or understand someone's intent of how it was written. So with the rapid disembark, if that transport made a normal or ingress move this phase, you must select this mode. And then tactical disembark, otherwise if that transport remains stationary or has not yet been selected to move this phase, and if you set up your unit as described below, you must select this mode. Combat disembark, otherwise you have to take this one. Make a hazard roll, which is on a 1 or a 2, the models take a mortal wound, or if it's say a Storm Raven with a Dreadnought in, takes 3 on a 1 or a 2. So while moving, set up each model in your unit wholly within the setup distance of that transport. Rapid disembark, if that transport made an ingress move this turn, each model must follow the same rules that transport had to follow while resolving that move. So they count as having made a normal move, I guess. So you can't choose to remain stationary still. You can't elect to wait to count as disembarking. And then combat disembark, each model can be set up engaged with one or more enemy units that transport is engaged with, so you can't set up and tag another unit. So after moving, rapid disembark until the end of your turn, your unit is not eligible to declare a charge. And then tactical disembark, select your unit to make a normal or advanced move. Combat disembark, your unit is battle shocked, and until the end of the turn it is not eligible to declare a charge. So effectively it works the same in that regard to how it does now overall. The only one is the addition of the combat disembark. So it's fairly similar otherwise, and you have to be wholly within 3 when you kind of disembark, which is the change. And they're kind of all the rules that have been shared as kind of information to kind of pass on, and I will kind of start again creating those showcase videos of showing how things are working, so there's that practical application when I get a bit more time. It's been a bit hectic, but yeah, I hope that was useful. We'll continue to share kind of new information and rules as they come out, and yeah, if you are watching, have watched, thank you, and do like, share and subscribe. Do let me know if there's anything I can do to improve, change, alter, update kind of the information. If there's anything you'd like to see about the way in which the information is shown that would be better, and yeah, we'll work on that to kind of improve quality